Football, just like any other sport, is a game where players are expected to be on their best behaviour on and off the pitch. Unfortunately, many players seem to forget this, as they have done the most unruly things that led to them being banned. That being said, let's take a look at 5 of the most notable instances. Number 5. Who better to start with than Luis Suarez? The Uruguayan striker is without a doubt one of the best finishers the game has ever seen. His popularity doesn't come from scoring beautiful goals alone, and he's made major headlines for doing some not so nice things on the pitch. The 2010 FIFA World Cup showed us how controversial Suarez could be. Remember how he stopped Ghana from reaching the semi-final when he used his hand to stop a goal-bound shot from crossing the line? Sure, no one would get banned for a handball offence, but the Ghanaian supporters would have wished that was the case. We'll have to rewind the clock back to 2012, when Suarez made headlines for the wrong reasons after he was accused of throwing racial jabs at Patrice Evra during a Premier League match. To make matters worse, he blatantly ignored the Frenchman's handshake afterwards, and this made him more hated than he already was. Of course, Suarez reserves the right to shake and not to shake if he sees fit, but his actions didn't do him or Liverpool any good at the time. As for his racial abuse towards Evra, he received a lengthy 8-match ban, but this wasn't the first time the ex-Liverpool man was on the wrong end of the hammer. He was also banned for 7 matches while he was at Ajax for biting an opponent. Now, Suarez has been caught biting opponents more than once, but this was the one that literally hurt the most. Number 4. Speaking of hurting people, there's hardly a player in the world that has done more damage than Eric Cantona. The French legend was hailed for his exceptional football skills, but at the same time, he was heavily criticised for all the atrocities he committed on the pitch. Yeah, Cantona knew how to kick the ball with great precision, but he also knew how to kick people too. He proved this when he delivered a devastating kung fu kick to a Crystal Palace fan during a Premier League match. After landing the kick, you would expect the Manchester United man to stop and think about what he had just done. But no, he followed up with a series of hard punches to the fan's face. The question is, what exactly did the Crystal Palace fan say to Cantona to deserve such brutality? According to reports, the fan had racially abused him, but still, was an assault the best action to take? No, it wasn't, which is why Cantona was slammed with an 8-month ban afterwards. That's almost an entire season away from football, all because he couldn't control his temper. Many would agree that Cantona was lucky not to have landed in prison for his actions. After all, the judge and the jury had all the evidence they needed on camera. He was initially sentenced to 2 weeks behind bars, but the sentence was later cut down to just 120 hours of community service. Now, this wasn't the first time Cantona had assaulted someone on the pitch, as he once punched his own keeper. These, among many other moments of controversy, didn't allow Cantona to reach the heights we all expected him to reach in football. Nonetheless, he is still regarded as a Manchester United legend and one of the best number 7s to play for the club. Number 3. Next up is hot-headed Portuguese defender simply known as Pepe. He's not the most popular player in the world, but he certainly had a great run while playing for Real Madrid. He was rock solid at the back, and he did everything in his power to stop the opposition strikers from scoring, even if it meant pushing and assaulting them. A good example of this was his attack on Javier Casquero in 2009. In a bid to fend off Casquero, Pepe gave him a little push in the 18-yard box. Pepe didn't expect him to fall though, but when he did, the Portuguese man lost it and decided to throw in a few more hits. In the most unsportsmanlike fashion, Pepe lost his temper and proceeded to kick Casquero twice as he lay helpless on the floor. It didn't stop there though, as he went on to punch one of Casquero's teammates during the ruckus. Of course, the match official wasn't having any of it, and as he cautioned the Real Madrid defender, Pepe gave him a mouthful of insults. Pepe's actions would not go unpunished, as he was slammed with a 10-match ban later on. Now, you would think that Pepe would learn from his mistakes and try to do better next time, but as they say, old habits die hard. After serving his ban, he stomped on Lionel Messi's hand during an El Clasico encounter, which caused outrage among the Nou Camp faithful, the Spanish FA, and even the Madrid press. All through Pepe's career, he proved that he was a committed defender, but his lack of discipline and aggression made him one of the most hated men in football. Number 2. But it isn't all bans that stem from assaults on the pitch, as some players have been axed for using illegal substances. Adrian Mutu's case is one of the most notorious in football history, and it was one that ruined his once promising career. Mutu signed to Chelsea in 2003, and at that point, he had the potential to become one of the best players in the world. This transfer cost the London club as high as £15 million, which goes to show how talented Mutu was back in the day. He didn't fail to impress either, as his superb play made him a fan favourite early on at Stamford Bridge. Unfortunately, his love for cocaine got the best of him, as he was tested positive for the substance, and Chelsea had no choice but to take appropriate action. Mutu was first banned for as long as 7 months, but even that wasn't enough, as Chelsea decided it was in the club's best interest to let him go for good. Mutu was eventually sacked, as Chelsea didn't want to be known for harbouring cocaine users. Remember that at this time, Chelsea were on the rise to becoming one of the powerhouses of European football, and having a player who tested positive for cocaine wouldn't do their image any good. The club actually went a step further by dragging Mutu to court to seek a refund for around £17 million. But that was not the end of Mutu's troubles, because after he left Chelsea to play for Fiorentina, he tested positive for cocaine once again, for which he received a 9-month ban. He also got hit with a 3-match ban for punching an opponent during a Serie A match, and that basically summed up his failed career. He was dropped from the Romanian national team, and the big clubs in Europe lost all interest in signing him. Mutu's story is quite unfortunate, as he was one of the most naturally gifted players in the world at the time, but I guess he loved illicit drugs more than he loved football. Number 1. Now, how can we talk about players getting banned for drugs without talking about the legendary Diego Maradona? In fact, if it wasn't for Lionel Messi, Maradona would have been undisputably Argentina's greatest player, as his skills were like no other at the time. He was fast, smart, and great with the ball at his feet. He wasn't afraid to dribble past an entire team either, just as he did against England at the 1986 World Cup in Mexico. Maradona consistently made headlines for his brilliance on the pitch, but it was the things he did off it that left a huge stain on his illustrious career. He received 2 lengthy bans for cocaine use, as he struggled with the substance towards the closing stages of his career. The first came in 1991 while playing for Napoli. After testing positive for the substance, he was slapped with a 15-month ban that kept him away from the game he loved with all his heart. This caused him to lose form and gain a lot of weight. Maradona made his return later on, but at this time, he was already aging and didn't have the pace he once had. His loss of form and weight gain didn't help him make the most of his comeback either, and he became a shadow of the Maradona the world once knew. 3 years later, he tested positive for ephedrine, and this led to another 15-month ban, which signalled nothing but the end of his career. But it wasn't until 1997 that he would officially hang up his boots for good, after he tested positive for cocaine one more time. After his retirement, Maradona continued to struggle with drugs and his weight, and it was a battle he would eventually lose, as he passed away from a heart attack in 2020. So guys, are there any other players you know who have received heavy bans? Let us have your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel, because there's more awesome football content where this came from. See you in the next one.